In this next video, we are going to place our pie charts inside of coordinate systems to give them even more dimensions and be able to compare them to another. For that, let me open the circle graph tutorial file. In here, we are going to reuse a lot of what we have already seen. We have here read our COVID-19 cases Europe, read the Excel file and look at the values as we have seen. And up here, we have also now read the CSV into it, and we looked at up until here, and now we split that up again to partition the list so that we have the same structure as we had it down in the Excel file. So what this CSV is giving us is the year, week, ISO, and the important branches for us are going to be target group in number 9, the countries in branch number 1, and the first doses in branch number 4. So now again, let's look at what we can do with this data. We have the target groups, which look like this: 1 age 60 plus, 1 age lower than 60, or all. And let's first create a set from that to see what are actually all target groups. And look at the panel, and the panel gives us this list of 60 plus, lower than 60, all, and then these 5 categories of 18 to 24, 25 to 49, and so on until age 80 plus. Then after that, age unknown and 2 unclassifiable values. So for our purposes, we are going to choose the values of 3 to 8, since that is a good resolution and we don't have any double numbers in there as we would have with, for example, branch 2 all. So we take the domain of 3 to 8 and take the subset of the list so that we only have these 6 figures, and then continue working with that. For that, let's first look at what we have done with the other branches. We have done a similar thing with the countries. We have tried to extract the countries, and here we now see why the GeoID from the Excel file was important, because in this CSV we do not really have the country name, but we only have the GeoID. And in the future, or let's say later on, we will have to match these things. So we create a set from that to find what are all countries in there, and we see those are the ones, the country codes. It's still 30, and then we again look for the indices of these countries. And then it gets really important. We extract the first dose and then sort these first doses by country, so that what we get out of here is, by the 30 countries we gave it, we have now the numbers of first doses of vaccination given by country, and here we have the values of the target group by country. So we will then again inside of this list look for the indices of the target group of that we have created here. So we have the whole list of target groups divided by country, and search inside of this list for the subset of age groups that we have extracted here, and from that we will get the indices of the age groups. Parallelly, we are going to look for the target groups and look for the indices of all. And then when we have found the structure, so now we have a not single path but a double path matrix. So here on 0, 0, we have divided by country and divided by the target group, and we give this to the first doses and match that one to the age groups. So here we now have, for example, for 0, 0 for Austria, for the first age groups, 45 values of first doses. And if we want to mass add that up, we have one single value for all of the first doses that are given to the first age group of in path 0 of Austrian people. So now we can trim that list again down, and we have the 6 values of the 6 age groups that we have subsetted here. So a little further down again, when we have looked for the indices of all, we have matched these first doses again to all, and now have a single value of all vaccination those first doses. We should have the same result when we add these 6 values add up again. So now that we have these numbers, we have a slight problem, because we want to compare these numbers to the other Excel file, but here we only have the country codes, and down here we have the country names. But lucky as we are, we can also take the country codes from here, because we have the GeoID, which is the same as the country code, and extract the country code, create a subset from that, and sort it according to the set of country names that we have here. So we have here a text sort component, which sorts this text, which is already alphabetically sorted, and sort this the country codes accordingly, and then give these values further to this member index again. So we take then the country code set that we have created here and look for the country codes in it again. It's 30 here, it's 30 there, but the order is not the same. That's why we do this. And then what we do is to reorder whole branches. We cannot simply use a sort or an item, but we have to use the tree branch again with renumbering on. So we give the trees of these into here, and for the path we give the numbers we have looked for here inside. And then we have all first doses and the first dose share by target group in the same order as from our Excel file. So now let's see what we can do with that. We want to create a pie chart again. That's the premise. And we take the first dose share by target group and all first doses. And we want to give it the share by the first dose share, which makes sense. And we want to give it the color by the age groups, so that across all of the pie charts, the color of the age groups is the same. So we take the length here, it's always going to be 6, single value in 6, create a series of 0 to 5 to have a 6 items long list, and give it into this gradient. Then we take the all first doses, and we want to give the pie chart and a radius according to all first doses, and the number is just much too large, so we divide it through an educated guess values of 140,000 to have a smaller outside radius for the pie chart. And then where things get tricky, we are looking for the center points. And the center points are going to be depending on our axis. So to find out where these center points are, we should probably look at what our axes actually are. So what goes into X and Y here in our coordinate system. And X is going to our set of population data, so how many people inhabit one country, and Y goes to the set of infection cases per country. So in that way, we have a precise X and Y value per country. Problem is that they are quite large again. They are simplified here. Here not, that's not a problem. And we now have to move these into the graph. So we have our points. We just need the X factor and the Y factor and the vector to move. And that is not a problem because we have already calculated these down here for the scale and move of our 1-to-1 ratio. So we have divided our x-axis length and by the length of our x domain and done the same thing for y and moved that by 200 and 200 per axis, and then we simply have to scale it and move it, which is this cluster, and then we get this collection of points in here, which if we view it in the coordinate system looks like this. This is the collection of many small countries out here and a few up here. And these points we can now give into our pie chart component as the center points for our pie charts. And that is then what that is looking like. We have small pie charts down here for many small countries and bigger ones here, which is making sense because the size of the circle is going by an absolute number of all first doses and not a share or a percentage. So that's why these circles are bigger. But what you can already see is that X has also an absolute number of inhabitants, and what we see here is the number of the circle of Germany, which has the most inhabitants, but a smaller circle than countries like, I think this is probably France or Italy or Spain, though it has a lot more inhabitants. Further now, we want to rotate the pie chart because they always start here in X direction, and we want them to start in Y direction. So we want to have the start always pointing up. And then we create a head from it, give it the attributes, and see what the custom preview shows us. Now we have a wonderful circle graph divided by the target groups of the vaccination per country. What we see here in these 2, 3, I think 4 cases is that these countries simply did not divide that up, and it's no surprise that, of course, Germany hasn't done it. But for most of the countries, they have done that, and that's why we can very well see now which country has the most vaccinations per target group. What we do not know yet is which countries these really are, and that is what this whole thing is good for, I call it TagFlex, and it's basically giving a line and a little bit of text to it. So for the creation of the TagFlex, we're taking our radius circles, so the radius of all of the pie charts and the center points of the pie charts, and sort them by the radius, the center points accordingly, split them by 6. So how many do I actually want to have? So I probably don't want the TagFlex for all of these, but I could, and split these two lists up. And then I just add some length to a line that is coming from the center point to the according out point of the circle, and then create a line. Let's look at that. That is going from the center up here, and we can preview it and have it in a color of our choice. The layer name for that would be tag lines, and it's going to be baked here. Next, we would want to have, of course, the text. And as the text, I chose simply the population of the country, the vaccinated, the number of vaccinated people in the country, and the country title, and sorted by the vaccinated people. Have everything sorted according, and then make some beautiful text out of it. Repeat data that you want to put first in front of numbers, for example, join text, and have these texts in the end. You would then again split these up after how many you would want to show them. I said here 6, so split that up again after 6. Merge these texts again, and then you can have, with the 3D text cluster that we have in our other files, look at what the vaccination data is. We have Germany, and we have 83 million inhabitants, and we have by that time 10.3 million vaccinations. France has 67 million inhabitants and already 18 million vaccinations. This is the TagFlex that we can create for a pie chart in a very simple manner. One more thing that is down here is the right positioning of the flag text. And that is just to place it right and not directly on the line. And we have some vector addings and positionings of the lines, and these basically go into the position of this. So now we can look at this, minimize Grasshopper, and we can see how beautiful our circle graph really is. We can also see here in the layer manager already that Human has already created the layer names for the layers that we would bake Grasshopper components to. And we can, of course, also try that. Let's turn off all of the preview, and let's look at how the bake button is working. So here we have our baked circle graph that is consisting of surfaces as the pie chart components. So now that we've created a circle graph, let's step down our game a little bit and see what else we can do with our coordinate system. Let's see how to create a line graph.